I love to play the saxophone. I take it with me wherever I roam, and the sound of the saxophone always brings me home.
She can play that saxophone.
I keep it with me every day, 'cause there's a song in my heart that I've got to play, and I feel it down deep in my soul. I love my saxophone.
Love that saxophone now.
You can run around or you can jump off the stage, and I know with the saxophone that's okay. You can sit, you can dance, you can rock, or you can stand and sway.
Go, baby.
Now what I do is press the first key down, take a deep breath and a good look around, and I blow in the horn and it makes a big, big sound. Hit a big drum set, that sound of the saxophone you'll never get.
That sounds great too. I'm not nice.
Sometimes I wake up in the morning and the day seems long, and I can hum a little tune and I can play that song, and I know that my saxophone makes me feel I belong.
Well.
Doesn't matter if you're big or small, blonde or brunette, short or tall, you can play the saxophone all day, 'cause it's made for all. I love to play the saxophone. I take it with me wherever I roam, and the sound of the saxophone always brings me home.
Bring her home.
The sound of the saxophone always brings me home. Oh, the sound of the saxophone, it brings me home.
Where are we?
Cheers! Welcome to our front room wine headquarters and music studio.
Well, it's actually the Galactic International Worldwide Wine and Music Headquarters. Hey, everybody. I just deemed that. It says it on the door right behind the camera.
Yeah, it doesn't, but we should put that on. Maybe that's my Christmas present to you.
Oh, now you just blew my Christmas present to you.
Okay, my bad.
Oh, that ain't cool.
How
now
are
I gotta go to Etsy and get something else.
So get something as thoughtful as that.
Yeah.
How are you tonight? Thank you so much for tuning in. And I see a lot of you tuned in Tuesday night that are tuned in tonight.
Yeah.
And I had so much fun Tuesday. Thank you for coming to our porch. And it was so fun to have Randy Jacobs there. I mean, that just made my whole week. So thank you for that. Today is a different show. And obviously we're in the Galactic headquarters.
Galactic International Global Headquarters.
Galactic International Global Headquarters. Wow.
There you go.
I just took my first sip of wine. I am drinking Soul. We are drinking Soul.
Yes.
And we want to know what you're drinking. But today, this is a cool kind of short little jaunt that we're going on. We are going to Sonoma next year, 2021, and Tuscany, Siena, Italy. So we want to talk about what we're doing next year, tell you about it, tell you what it is, because you may have heard us, say it in passing on one of our music shows or in the kitchen.
Yep.
But we wanted to tell you really what it is, but then be super thoughtful about, what the safety precautions are, what the state of travel is. And we have a very special guest coming in. Our adventures that we're going on next year, we're not doing them alone. We're doing them with a travel partner, and they are amazing. It's called Taste Vacations, and Allan Wright is coming in, and he's going to talk to us about what he sees happening, how, the state of affairs is going with COVID and safety and what is working and what we can look forward to.
So I think that if you're not planning on traveling next year, and maybe you'll go with us the subsequent years, but Allan will be here in a couple minutes with us, and Mindy will be talking to him, and you could learn a lot from him, regardless if you're going to, go on the adventures with us or you have other trips planned. You're going to learn a lot from him about, like Mindy said, traveling in the U.S. and abroad. So I think it's going to be really interesting. So we appreciate everybody being here. So let's talk a little bit about the adventures themselves. So,
well, first of all, if you have any questions through whatever we're talking about, anything, the husband is at the keyboard. So we'll be watching and everything, but ask any question, whether it's to us or whether it's to Allan Wright when we bring him on.
Yeah, we'll have a little Q&A at the end, which we only think we're going to be chit-chatting today for 40 minutes. So we'll have a little Q&A at the end, and we'll address all your questions that you have. Okay.
Yeah. So can we start with Sonoma?
Yeah, so the adventures in general, though, we came up with the idea of going on adventures because Mindy and I were just trying to figure out a way to go on vacation twice a year.
And we want to go to cool places.
But so we wanted to have more intimate wine and music kind of experiences around the world. We didn't want to just do them in the United States, but around the world. And we wanted them to be intimate. So only about up to 40, maybe 50 people. And it's all in hotels in a particular city, and going to wineries, going to great restaurants, listening to Mindy and some of our guest artists play every day. And what we're thinking of doing this year is going international once a year and going domestic once a year.
Yeah.
So every year we're going to put on 2 is our plan right now. And our first one is in Healdsburg in Sonoma, California. And the second one is in Tuscany, Siena, the ancient city of Siena, in the middle of Italy. So
it sounds so good. And we just both want to go tomorrow.
And we're going to take you there right now. So if you hang with us, we're going to go on Google Earth, and Mindy and I are going to walk you through Sonoma and Italy. And by the way, we have a bunch of people on here that have been signed up already. We're 50% sold out. Yeah. 50% sold out. So we have a bunch of people that are interested that are here right now. So you're going to learn a lot about where we're going. You're actually going to see some of the places before Mindy gets on with Allan. So,
I love that.
All right. So you want to start with Sonoma?
Yeah, I want to start with Sonoma.
And don't forget to ask your questions, please. Okay?
Oh, yeah. Ask any questions. Okay, so the first place we wanted to go in June
is the Globe.
Oh, look at the Globe. Ooh. What?
Where are we going, Mint? Where are we going?
We are going to Healdsburg, California in June 2021. Whoa, we are going. Whoa.
So Healdsburg is this little city, North Sonoma. As you can see, Northern California. It's considered one of the most beautiful cities by Wall Street Journal in the world. I had the opportunity to live there for 15 years. It's the wine industry ground zero, and there are maybe 30 restaurants within a 3-block range. So to give you a little flavor of what Healdsburg looks like, and Mindy, go ahead, you could chit chat. It's just a small little neighborhood. It's really beautiful.
It's so beautiful. And when Eric and I were introduced, Dave Cause, of course, introduced us. He lived in Healdsburg, just off the square with his 2 daughters, and it was just storybook. Yeah. And I just was enamored with this town, and we would walk, 2 blocks down to the town. And like he said, 30, 40 restaurants are probably within surrounding, 4 or 5 blocks.
And 10 of them are world-class, meaning the finest in the world for different things like Louisiana Southern food, for California flair. They have high-end. We had the greatest burritos there from.
He did, yeah.
So we know this place like the back of our hand. We couldn't think of a better place to take you because we know everything. We know every block, every crack in the street. But let me take you to our hotel right now too, because this hotel is something special. It is called H2 Hotel. I remember being built when I was in Healdsburg. So now we're going to come into Healdsburg. That's a town square right north of it there.
Whoa.
And this is a view of the hotel for those of you that would like to join us. Very wine country.
The
very
hotel
chic,
is so hip.
So hip.
I walk in and I feel super hip.
Yeah.
When you stay in those places that just make you feel hipper than you might be.
Yep. And it's got
that way.
a phenomenal wine list, but also some of the greatest mixologists for cocktails in their little bar, which is called the Spoon Bar.
The Spoon Bar, they have a wall of spoons that move and flow with the breeze. And you can ask them to make you a drink. And I mean, you will get lavender and, just cool rosemary and all these incredible ingredients in these drinks that they cook up that I've never heard of. And you'll never get anywhere else. You'll talk about these drinks that you get here for years to come. But it's a wine town. But every once in a while, you need to just drink a cocktail and cleanse the palate.
So let me go back. Let me go back to the hotel, and then I'm going to show you. We're going to do this kind of jaunt over again, so you just saw that we just did a little jump. But let me do that again, so you can see. We're going to highlight one winery here. So if you look at the itinerary, which you can find online, it's at reservetastings.com/adventures. Just go to our website. Or you go to mindyabear.com and there's a little adventures tab up there as well. Every day is going to be fully curated, from wineries, the finest restaurants, eating at the wineries, Mindy playing shows either at the winery, probably most of the time at the winery. Think about that, sitting outside in this one place we're going to show you and listening to Mindy while we do beautiful wine tastings. And this is some of the finest wine in the world. These are not like kind of, janky wineries. These are,
let me just say,
over the top excellent. Let me show you one right now.
He would never bring you to a second rate.
Yeah. So I'm going to bring
him.
I'm going to bring you to McCrosty Winery right now, which you can see we went over all the vineyards. This is just one place. A friend of mine manages it, and it is spectacular. Now, the one thing to keep an eye on here is look at all the outdoor seating. So not only does it have indoor, but to be safe, which we're going to talk about, Allan, today, the outdoor seating is beautiful. Regardless of the pandemic, we would have sat outside.
Yeah.
And just now,
we always have.
Yeah, picture Mindy here playing with us all having lunch and drinking wine. So
I picture it. I can't wait. And they were psyched. I mean, this is a huge winery, and, Eric called and talked to them, and they just thought it was such a really cool idea to do what we're doing with, 30, 40 of our closest friends, and just have something intimate and real that you can connect with at their winery. So a little music, a little wine, a little, learning about these just beautiful places.
So the other thing too is within blocks of our hotel are, again, all these incredible restaurants. This is one we're highlighting here called Barn Diva. We're hoping to visit this one. Huge back area, huge barn. You'll see a picture here in a second. But there'll also be opportunities when you have time without us, because you get a little sick of us after 4 nights and 5 days.
No, they'll never get sick of us.
So all these restaurants are literally within blocks of where you're staying. So if we go here, this is some of the food. That's the actual barn, and it is a high-end luxury restaurant like you've never had before in your life.
But you're in a barn.
Yeah, but you're in a barn.
Which is awesome.
So that's...
And about a block down, he's a member of a salami club. I know this is not common knowledge, but it's a very high-end salami club built by the Sagacio family.
We're going to visit
Sagacio wine. Maybe you don't know they started a meat company.
Oh,
and that's his happy place.
Oh,
look at his face.
Yay!
It's called Journeyman Meat Club.
Yeah,
right?
And we probably will visit them. and the great thing about Healdsburg, again, is all within a couple mile radius, being super safe.
That's a block
socially.
from Barn Diva.
It's a block from 2 blocks from the hotel.
Yeah.
So that is Healdsburg. We did a kind of a short condensed version, but you could see the beauty of it, the excellence in all the wine and food, but we're going to have an incredibly great time. We already know the 20 or so people that are going on it, and a couple of them are outgoing, wind them up, and here we go people. So it is already starting to be a great crowd.
Well, and at the end, there is a 3-star Michelin restaurant that you forgot about that, didn't you? You got all into the Journeyman Meat Company.
We'll see if anybody wants to go with us.
But at the end day, we were going to put kind of an additional cool people day that if you wanted to go to this restaurant, we were going to elongate it and go to Single Thread. And it's a restaurant that he and I have heard about for years. It started right after he moved, because he moved down here for me. And so we missed Single Thread, but it is legendary, and everyone who goes is just into it.
Yeah, it is a 3. Well, it's not 3-star yet. It's 2-star. It's trying to be 3-star.
In my mind, it's
but it
3
is
star.
on the level of considered one of the finest restaurants in the world. And here are some pictures of it. It is a 13 to 15 course meal. So if you go to the adventures page, you can see, you can actually add that option. And we don't really expect more than 5 or 10 people to go to dinner with us that night. So this is going to be super intimate and super down. And
we're going to eat like rock stars.
Yeah.
We're going to drink like rock stars.
One of the greatest restaurants
That's
in the
what I'm
world.
talking about.
All right. So before we could bring Allan on, how about we visit Italy? Do you want to go to Italy?
Let's do a quick trip to Italy.
Okay. So Healdsburg is scheduled for June of this year. And Italy, Siena, is scheduled for November.
So November, we're going to take you to Siena.
Here we go.
Which is in the middle of Tuscany. Oh, and we're going. Come on.
And the beautiful,
I love Google Earth.
And if you've never been to Siena, it's an ancient city south of Florence, right in the middle of Tuscany. One of the sexiest, coolest ancient cities in all of Italy.
Romantic.
Yeah.
Totally romantic.
Yeah.
Okay, the hotel in Siena could not be more opposite from the hotel we're going to in Sonoma. It is just classic, opulence. It feels like you're in a castle.
Here we go, right in the middle. You guys see blocks from your doorstep, right in the middle of the city. Sorry,
you can
go
just
ahead.
roam around town when, you've got your off time and just experience the city, which I always love to kind of walk the streets at night.
See, look at that. That's the dining area. So this is the hotel that we'll be staying at in Siena.
I feel like a queen.
Oh, and we're just going to be
room.
spending all the time in that room if they let us in.
I so want to do a concert in that room. I just want me and you in that room.
We have to tell Allan to set us up in that room. All right, so Siena is going to be absolutely tremendous. And a few of the places we're going to visit is we're going to indulge in obviously the Italian culture and the Italian food, which is going to blow our minds. But also we're going to go to some small and incredibly world famous regions right outside of Siena. One of them is Montalcino and the other one is Montepulciano. And
I love when you say that.
And then we're going to spend a whole day in Chianti too. And Chianti, even though in the U.S. there might be considered lower end wines, have some of the highest end wines in the world, which we'll be visiting. But this is Montalcino, Mindy, right here. Mm-hmm. And you've never been here either. So this is going to be a first.
Never been.
It's just Tuscan countryside.
Have saxophone, will travel. Have wine guy husband, will travel. I'm in.
And when you play the saxophone in these areas, it echoes quite a bit. I promise you that. So,
I love that. No, we're already cooking up where to play there. And we've got our eye on a few places. And it's going to be just amazing, know?
Another place is going to be Montepulciano. And Montepulciano is, again, one of the greatest places in the world. A little bigger than Montalcino. And everything is all within an hour of Siena. It's the beauty of this whole entire trip. And again, one of the reasons that we selected adventures is because we want to be able to go to places that you can't get to on a river or an ocean. All these wine regions, a lot of them are in the middle of a country. So we are thinking of going to Spain. We want to go to New Zealand. We want to go to Australia, South America. Yeah. Our partner is experts in all these areas. So one right here is Montepulciano. As you can see from this picture right here, this is something that you can take on an iPhone. It actually looks exactly like this. It is one of the most beautiful places in the world with some of the greatest wine you'll ever have. So that is Italy. We didn't want to chat too much about our ventures up front. We wanted to get to more of the kind of the partner portion with Taste Vacations. But Italy itself, you will also be able to add days on the front end or the back end. I should mention that.
Yeah. I mean, as long as you're over there and it's safe.
Spend more time.
Spend more time.
Yep.
And you're traveling with, with a company that is going to keep you safe and is going to make sure we're not, we were going to do it this year. And obviously that was not meant to be. We got to keep you safe.
But if you wanted to add on, you could go to Florence. It's not that far away. Pisa, Rome is driving distance, of course. I mean, there's just a lot of places that you can go that are around Siena and then spend some time before or after. Okay.
I can't wait for the day. And it's so soon that, that we can be with you guys and drink wine and play music and just be together. So it's coming up soon, sooner than you think. So that's so fun.
So we're going to, I'm going to put this on the bottom here. So to reserve your adventure or to sign up, just to be noticed. We have actually a lot of people that are just signed up and get on our email list. We send out emails on the adventures like once a month. And if you're not sure where you're going or you're not sure about traveling, this would be a way for you to stay connected with us and get updates and see if it's filling up and if it's sold out and those kind of things. So,
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So
Cool.
Can we bring in Allan?
Yes, we can.
You like how I asked?
Yeah.
Can we bring in Allan?
No, we can't.
All right. We are going to bring on our travel partner, and he is from Taste Vacations, and he's the guy who's making this all happen. He is an expert in travel abroad and here in the States, and they do so many different things. So please welcome our friend and travel partner, Allan Wright.
All right. Should we clap?
Yes.
Yay.
Hey, Allan, how are you?
I'm great, Mindy. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for making time. And
Thank you for having me.
yeah, of course. We're going to see a lot more of you in 2021 and beyond.
That's right.
So
That's right.
start this now. We just wanted to ask you, just to start out with, look, what is the current state of travel? Because we've been, through this roller coaster this year. Just to start out with, where are we at right now?
Yeah, so we all know that the pandemic has had a big effect on a lot of different industries, but I would be very confident in saying that the hardest hit industry of any has been the travel industry. In the United States, they have estimated that overall spending on travel will be down 45% this year. They're estimating that a third of the U.S. job losses in total have been in the travel industry, that 40% of travel jobs are gone, either temporarily or permanently, and that industry employment in travel is 51%. And so I'll just give you one sort of stat that shows you exactly how low travel is and still remains. Over the last 3 days, I went and calculated this with a calculator, that TSA security screenings in the United States are down 71% from the equivalent days last year. So it's still bad, as we all know, but those are statistics that back that up.
Well, we're not going anywhere until June next year, and we really, talked about it and tried to figure out what was safe. What are the highest risks of transmission?
Yeah, so I'm no doctor, but we at
You
Taste
just play one on
Vacations-
TV.
Yeah, I don't even do that. But I do pay attention to the news. And I actually have an uncle who's an infectious diseases scientist who went to school with Anthony Fauci. So I'm pretty tuned into this and do the research. Yeah, have I not told you that?
I didn't know that, but
Yes.
I love you even more now.
I tell you, you can watch the news, but when your uncle, who's been to school with Anthony Fauci, tells you something on the phone, one-to-one, you pay attention. It really hits home. So we at Taste Vacations are very safety conscious. And so while I'm not a medical professional, I can tell you that this is fairly accurate. We all know what the risk of infection is, right? And it's being in close contact with an infected person, especially if they're emitting water droplets that have the virus. So that means sneezing, coughing, talking are especially bad. And that's especially true if you are in sustained proximity with somebody. They say over 15 minutes, but we all know it could be less than that, and within an enclosed, poorly circulated space. So what does that mean? That means workplaces, public transportation, social gatherings, restaurants, gyms, even your own home. If you're in your own home with somebody who's infected, you're very likely to get infected. And it also means then that what's not at risk is when you're social distancing, obviously. If you're masked up, we all know that now, that is, it really helps a lot, both the wearer and the person who's near the person wearing a mask. And if you're outdoors, if you're moving so that you're not really next to somebody very long. And we also know from the very beginning that the transmission through touching objects is not as big a deal as what we initially thought too. So the reason why that's all important is because it sort of dictates to us what then is safe about travel and what's not safe about travel.
Okay, so looking forward to, I just saw today the Pfizer vaccine got approved for emergency use here in the U.S. And we were just like, yes, because that's, the start of something great. When travel resumes, and it will build up after, people start getting safer and we start getting more, kind of healed up as a country. I've heard that airline travel is one of the safest ways because of the airflow and everything. Will you speak to kind of some of the various aspects of travel and what it's going to be like moving forward?
Yeah, and so airlines are obviously the key aspect that everybody focuses on. It's the one I get the most questions about. There have been studies that have shown that the risk of transmission on airlines is low, and that's good news. The reason it is low is in part those filtration systems and the airflow that circulates the air very frequently out of the airplane and brings fresh air in. That's important. But that's not enough by itself. There's also been studies that show, and we know this from a long time ago, that you can trace flu infections on airplanes. If you're sitting right next to somebody and not wearing a mask, then you're still at risk. And so if you go on an airplane, they all require mask wearing, and that's critical. And I personally would choose the airlines that are keeping the middle seats open as long as you can still have that option. So in general, the risk of being on an airline itself is pretty low.
Okay. I love that. See, that makes me feel better already. That's good, right?
Yeah.
What about hotels?
So for hotels, it's also relatively good news. Really, the hotels are taking all these measures that they're promoting quite a bit. Electrostatic sanitation, reducing capacity on elevators, eliminating the pens in the rooms, keyless entry, online registration, all that stuff. But it boils down to this. If you don't have to stand next to people inside a hotel, then it's a good thing. And if you go into the hotel and you just can walk in with your mask on and walk through the lobby and go to your room, it's pretty safe. And so again, I don't have a problem with the safety of hotels as long as you're not congregating in areas where other people are, especially if they don't have masks on.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of kind of what we're doing in Healdsburg and then Italy. It's like we can be distanced but be together. It's like you can be outside in a winery and eat and drink and all be together, but keep those things in mind. It doesn't matter, maybe touching a plate or something, but it's about having a little distance and being outdoors. Have you seen wineries and what's going on there?
Yeah, so for wineries, I would put them in the same category as restaurants. I don't eat in restaurants, not inside. I haven't eaten in a restaurant since the pandemic started. And the reason is...
you don't have COVID-19, so
I don't have COVID-19. In fact, nobody in my entire greater family has got COVID-19, which I ascribe in part to the fact that I've put my uncle onto Zoom video calls with our whole family multiple times to keep everybody safe. Yeah, I sort of feel like it's my job. But yeah, you can't really consider that you're being safe in a restaurant where everybody, by definition, has a mask off, is eating, and what comes with eating is talking, and what comes with eating and talking is unfortunately spurting things out of your mouth. So it's just not that safe. In fact, outdoor dining is way safer than indoor dining, but even that really will depend on who is sitting in your party. If I see people going out to restaurants, eating outdoors, and they have 8 people that are 4 couples, and if those 4 couples aren't all safe, then the outdoor dining is equally unsafe. This is the same thing that's true for wineries. Wineries that have outdoor dining and outdoor tasting rooms, like Eric was just showing, those are reasonably safe and can be quite good. And in fact, I am even comfortable doing an indoor tour of a winery facility if everybody's masked and continuing to move. Wineries have lots of space in them. They've got high roofs, and so it's pretty good air circulation. And if you're not sitting there together at the tasting bar, then I'm pretty comfortable with that as well.
Well, and talking about, so we're talking about Sonoma right now too. Someone just asked a question, so let's address that right away. What's the weather like in June? We have a lot of good questions we're going to address at the end. I'm seeing everybody's questions, but Jerry asked, what's the weather going to be like in June in Healdsburg? And it is probably one of the most perfect times to be there.
It's beautiful.
Because it's, 70s every day, maybe a little cool, 60s at night. It's perfect, and sunny every day, virtually no rain up there at that time. So outdoor is going to be awesome. And almost every restaurant has outdoor seating in Healdsburg. So.
And
everyone always wants to eat out in the vineyard anyway. It's like it's very rare that you want to eat indoor, that I want to eat indoors at least. I always want to be out there and just feel the glow of it.
There's going to be some grapes on the vine, so we could eat some of those too.
Stop it.
Well, and part of it too is the aesthetics of the coloring, right? Because there are leaves on the vines, and so that makes all the grape fields beautifully green, but also the hills are usually still green in June, right? And that makes it really beautiful, whereas if you get there in August, they're already brown.
Yeah. Well, and it's getting to harvest in, August and September, and it's usually super packed. So, we really wanted to go earlier when it wasn't going to be nutty, because having lived there, we lived through he lived there, but I was up there a lot. I liked him a lot, We weren't married yet, but I ended up spending a lot of time up there. So it was pretty awesome just to be up there, but harvest is nuts.
We have one other question. Since you guys are talking about restaurants and hotels, you can take a look at the screen. It's from Lorraine. What about the restaurants that have plexiglass dividers between tables? I think she's referring to more but inside the restaurant.
That definitely can help, right? That can help quite a bit, especially if they go up all the way to the ceiling, because otherwise part of the problem with restaurants is they don't have the same filtration systems that hospitals or airplanes do, and neither do office buildings for the most part. And so they're oftentimes in the summer, they're circulating the same air through, and then that actually serves to be a negative because you're transmitting the virus from an infected person clear across the restaurant. So it depends. You can't sit inside a bubble. It certainly would help. I still don't do it. I don't really eat inside restaurants. It hasn't jumped to my need list during this once in our hopefully lifetimes pandemic.
Yes, what you said. Yes. Once in a lifetime. Okay. I have another question this is from me. You hear about bubbles, we're in a bubble kind of with our neighbors because we're on, right here and we don't see anyone else usually. So it's like we feel like we're in our travel bubble here, our life bubble. But going, to travel, I'm hearing, about maybe you get vaccinated before you travel, or maybe you get tested before you travel. What is your thought process on if you're going to go somewhere, if you're going on our adventures or anywhere else? What is your thought on that?
So travel bubbles are critical, absolutely critical. If you don't know the safety level of the people you're traveling with, then you are at huge risk, or you have to keep socially isolated from them. And so for us, a tour company, this is our number one issue, really.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about travel bubble, you have to remember that it starts right now. The vaccine isn't around. So right now we're dealing with testing. The testing is quite good if you get the PCR tests, which are the more accurate and slightly slower tests. But if you do that before you leave, you have the risk of what's going to happen to you from the time you take the test to your time to get results, get to the airport, actually get travel, and then get there. And so you have to be exceedingly cautious on both while you're at home for the amount of time after you get the test before you depart. And that's feasible, right? Everybody can do that. You just have to take that upon yourself. And we at Taste Vacations, working with you, Mindy, is our job to make sure that everybody else going on our trips is going to be doing the exact same thing. Yeah. And then, as we just discussed, we think you can travel safely And then it's once you're there, you have to then stay in a travel bubble, which means we're not doing lots of interacting, hanging out in bars, talking to the locals. That's just not an applicable, appropriate thing to do during a pandemic. That's testing. It can change, obviously, with the vaccine.
So with the vaccine, I mean, look, now in America, the first responders, obviously, as they should, are going to get this vaccine. I feel so good about that. Our neighbor is a first responder. He works in the hospital in downtown Los Angeles. And so he'll be on the front line of who gets it. But I think, obviously, we as just normal human beings won't get it for a number of months. And so how does that factor into the travel scenario? I mean, are things just going to exponentially change?
Yes. I don't know about exponentially, probably more like
yes.
some other mathematical equation. But yes, because every time that as people get vaccinated, obviously they become very unlikely to get the virus, to get COVID. And then they can't transmit it, which reduces the community transmission spread. And so, we have to back up and say the vaccine creation was, as everybody says, quite amazing. And remember back to March, they were predicting 18 months for a vaccine to be approved and maybe, 2 years to 3 years before it could be rolled out. And so we're way ahead of that. And the 95% effectiveness is way ahead of what they are predicting. And there are very few side effects, ill effects to the vaccine. So it's not just that we got a couple of vaccines approved. It's that we got these vaccines approved very fast, and they're very effective, and they have very few side effects right now. So it is clearly a game changer. Will people be able to get vaccinated before our June Sonoma trip? Yes, some definitely will. And from our position, it makes a ton of sense to get vaccinated before you go on a group trip like this, if you have that ability to do so.
So if you don't have the ability, or some people aren't into vaccines, they don't believe in them, there are different camps of that. Is testing then the backup plan to that? If you're going to go on a trip and be in a bubble with people, obviously this is, what we're planning is a small event. This is not a couple thousand people. This is, 40 people going to Italy or 40 people going to Sonoma. What's the best case that, if you're going to go on a trip with people, okay, get vaccinated. That's your best possibility, but is testing then the next step down?
Well, before we jump to that, I'm going to say that the vaccines is not only your best possibility, it might be a requirement to travel. So we in the United States are not going to impose a blanket requirement to get vaccinated. It's not going to happen. But you have to remember that vaccines are required already in the United States of medical professionals, of the military, teachers, students. Right. So required vaccinations is not an unusual subject. And also think about this. You have to get vaccinated for yellow fever if you want to travel to one of dozens of countries where that's a risk. So is Italy going to require proof of vaccination for people to go? The chances are pretty good, good. And so the reality is, if you are against vaccines, it might be that not only can you not travel to Italy in the near term, but you might not be able to go into an NBA basketball game because they might not be letting people in. They might not be able to host fans at their games if people aren't vaccinated. And so it's going to be, I think it is going to be more taken up and more commonly accepted than the flu vaccine, for example, where, it's people either do it or not as they choose. But in answer to your question, the testing, yes. If we have a group of 40 people and it's in Sonoma and 2/3 of them get vaccinated, then we probably will either strongly suggest or require that the other third get a negative test with a PCR test that's quite valid, because it's the only way to do it. Because remember that the 95% effectiveness rate means that you're still 1 out of 20 people who get the vaccine might still be at risk, and it's not fair to have a group of people together where somebody's putting some people at risk.
I feel so good about that because, look, we didn't want to put on an adventure. We didn't want to go someplace with 40 of our closest friends and have someone get sick. That's not, what we want. We want people to feel comfortable. We want everyone to know that we're cognizant of this, that we are thinking about everyone, not just ourselves. So I will be getting the vaccine definitely whenever it's offered for someone like me, because we're a little younger and not a frontline worker, but I just want to go back to work. And for me, work is play. I get to play and I get to be out there. So that's a good thing.
This topic right now does address about 2 or 3 people that had this question already, or maybe 5, about what would be required up front, but also when they're on the trip. And a lot of people are asking about Healdsburg, Allan. I think, Italy is still so far away, and we're developing, how international travel develops. There's a lot of people thinking about Healdsburg and domestic travel here in June.
Yeah.
Would we have any kind of requirements or testing while everybody's together, like the heat transfer or something like that? That's one of the questions I'm getting quite a bit.
It's a great question. So it depends on the. So I'll just say that I think we have failed as a country in terms of testing. If you think about the fact that testing probably costs $50 if bought in bulk, and we're sending out $1,200 checks to people, we could be testing everybody 24 times, and we could have totally had a handle on this entire pandemic if we were doing a lot better testing. I'm in New York. In New York, you can get a test anytime you want for no reason whatsoever. You just have to waltz down to the local testing center. And you can
Same with Los Angeles. We can drive down, drive through, and you can get a test every day if you want.
Yeah. And so that's way better, and that's how it should be. If we could arrange a quick turnaround test in Sonoma County, in Healdsburg, so that everybody showed up and everybody had to get a test. And part of that possibility is to do it via mail, right? So you can actually get the tests sent to Healdsburg via the mail, do the testing in your room, and then send it back. The problem is you have to quarantine to be safe between the testing point and when you get the results back. I'm hoping that a significant portion of the US population will have access to the vaccine before our June trip, and that will eliminate the need for testing for those folks. And then, yes, we'll require some sort of testing, whether it's before departure, which is the commonplace thing right now, or whether we arrange it in Healdsburg. It really depends on Healdsburg and what's available there, and whether we can do that for people who come in from out of state without actually having symptoms.
Yeah, actually, one of our neighbors does huge events here in Los Angeles, and she has done a few huge virtual events, and it made for a couple people having to be together in a room at the same time. And she had quick tests. So I think that the technology for testing people quicker and easier is going to exponentially, as we said the other time, maybe it didn't apply there, but I think it will change from now until June. So we may have the chance to really, once you get in, test you quickly. But I would like to look at that.
Things are developing so rapidly right now. Yeah. And, Allan's given us what we know right now, which is like about as good as anybody can get.
Yeah.
But who knows in a couple months what other things we're going to have access to, and the more sophisticated, how fast the vaccine is going to go out, how many people are going to take it. There are actually, some people are saying that once J&J turns on, Johnson & Johnson, it might be a massive amount coming into the market. So we'll see. Yeah. And we'll update you. And for those of you that sign up, we're going to keep you abreast of all these things. We're going to send you emails. And for those of you that are interested, we also will send you emails, because I just saw a couple people just sign up to our mailing list.
That's great.
And if you go to our website at reservetastings.com, you'll see the adventures tab. And you don't have to actually sign up to join us and
Yeah.
make the commitment. We only have 50% occupancy remaining, but you could sign up just to get notifications once a month and as you figure it out. So we do have a couple other really great questions. You guys cool with taking some of those?
Yes, definitely.
Cool.
Good, Allan? Yeah.
One of them I'm going to address, which is logistics to Healdsburg, and I've driven that trip maybe 8,000 times. But
8,000.
so instead of the pandemic, one of the questions is logistics. We have a bunch of people here, Allan, that are actually going on the trip and excited about it, a few thinking about it. So people said, hey, what should we fly into to get to Healdsburg? San Francisco, Oakland, or even someone said Concord, which is kind of rock star. And the answer
Concord's
is
great.
Yeah, I know, right? The answer is yes, yes, and yes.
Santa Rosa, too.
Yeah, there's
Sacramento even.
Sacramento and Santa
That
Rosa.
airport.
So if you want to be super rock star, Santa Rosa is a small little airport right in Sonoma, and it's only half hour south, not even 20 minutes south of Healdsburg. Second level rock star
Well,
is
wait a minute.
Concord.
Santa Rosa has Chuck Schultz. He's got all the Peanuts characters.
Snoopy, the Chuck Schultz did all his greatest work in Sonoma. So.
Yeah, so you literally fly in with 3 other people into Santa Rosa, and then you've got Snoopy saying hi to you. So Santa Rosa is amazing, and maybe 15 minutes from Healdsburg.
Well, I know because I used to sprint to get to planes when I was working in the big wineries. So it's about 20-25 minutes.
Okay.
Very small airport. Awesome.
I drive faster.
And you can get rental cars there, and you can get Uber up to Healdsburg, no problem.
Yeah.
The other one is, as Allan has mentioned, is Sacramento, Oakland, or SFO. The only thing with SFO is there's a lot more options, but it's very busy to get. You have to go through the city and over the Golden Gate Bridge to get up into the Sonoma area.
Probably an hour and a half.
Yeah, well, it depends on traffic. So you might get caught more in traffic depending on how busy San Francisco is at the time.
Yeah.
Oakland's a little less than Sacramento because you're coming outside of the city into Sonoma.
Probably
so
an
it's
hour.
A little bit better, and Concord is about the same as well. So all your options are excellent. But Allan, this one's going to be for you. People are asking, going to Siena trip, where should they consider flying into? And should they start booking their trips now, their flights now?
I would say yes, book your trip. No, don't book your flights yet, probably. So we will create for both Sonoma and Tuscany a pre-departure packet of information that will be a PDF that will get sent to everybody. That will include how to get to the tour, to the retreat, how to fly in, to which airports. It'll include information about the testing and what's required, or the vaccine. It'll include more information about what's going on, where we're going to eat, things like that, what to do if you have eating restrictions, which we can accommodate, all of that stuff. So for Siena, the main issue is there's no great airport right there. It's either Florence or Rome. And Rome is the airport if you want to take a direct flight from the United States. And then the issue is, how do you get up there? One option is just to take a train. And I think by November in Italy, that virus will be relatively under control. They're going to have almost everybody vaccinated. And I think the uptake is going to be a lot higher there. Right. So it should be quite safe to take the train directly there. You can take it directly to Siena, and then you can take a taxi from there. And Eric, I want to make sure you see that question about the cancellations too.
Yeah, we'll address that in a minute. But the one thing with Allan is mentioning about the trains, if you haven't been to Italy or Europe, the trains are about as excellent as it gets. It is an incredibly beautiful trip, but we encourage you, if you're going to fly into Rome, for example, then take some time and hit a couple places a couple days before you get to Siena.
Get some pizza.
Oh yeah, pizza. Get some homemade bolognese in some of those little ancient villages.
You can't get a bad glass of wine either. No. Like every bottle of wine
it's worth the trip in
ever
Siena.
Gotten, even in some restaurant that looks crappy. I'm like, I'm just going to go in here. Everything's spectacular.
Not to mention every plate of pasta too.
Yeah, oh yeah, and everything's homemade.
You're right.
So Allan is basically mentioning, don't plan your flights just yet. And by the way, I think you know what though, Allan, what I heard today with like Delta and it's doing more of the Southwest model where they're not giving you penalty for change fees.
Yeah, really.
So
great.
actually, I think maybe you could start booking flights for Healdsburg, because those are domestic flights that without change fees, you could reuse those tickets on the airlines that don't have change fees right now. And a lot of them are starting to do it.
Yeah.
Well, we will be sending out that packet of information next month. And so it's not a bad idea to wait till you get that. So that'll give you that full information in terms of arrival and booking and all of that.
Okay.
I want to do it tonight.
And then here's another question, more kind of about the trips themselves. How does the payments work for signing up and then paying the majority of the fee per person?
Yeah, so there's an initial deposit, and I got to tell you, I'm not the best person for this one because I've been doing this for 24 years now, and for the last half of that, I haven't been dealing with the actual.
You got people, man. You got people.
I know.
But
he's got a posse.
His people is called Beth, by the way, and she is the wizard behind all this.
Cheers, Beth.
So Beth.
Yeah, she's listening in. She might post this if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, she'll correct me. I believe it's a $500 deposit, and you can pay that by credit card. And then the final payment is due 60 days in advance. We will send you an invoice. We'll remind you. You can pay that by either check or credit card. And then the critical thing about this is I want to say right off the bat that we always have a much more flexible cancellation policy than many companies that are running tours like this. And we generally allow people to cancel with notice and keep their money and just move it to a different trip. This year in 2021, including these 2 trips, people can cancel with no notice whatsoever. And so somebody asked, what happens if I get tested before I fly to the airport and I'm positive? Well, good point. You can transfer your money to another trip the same year or the following year.
Excellent.
And
You're a good person, Allan.
The only penalty in there, I just want to say this, is that if we have unrecoverable costs, if we've already paid your hotel room, which we will have done, and they don't let us get it back, which they tell us they won't, but sometimes we can get it back anyway, then you might be out something like that. But in general, if we can get all your money back, you will get all your money back.
Well, and that's what I love about what we're putting together here and with these adventures, because there is more flexibility with hotels. There's more flexibility with airlines, especially nowadays. They should have had the flexibility years ago. Shouldn't have taken a pandemic to have no change fees. I think we could all agree upon that.
Your anger is coming out now.
Am I getting angry now? I mean, how many thousands of dollars have we paid in transfer fees for administrative purposes?
I know. And they should have been clean the whole time too, because now they're so clean. It's so nice.
And Allan and I, Mindy and I have had to stay in a hotel once or twice over the last 6 or 8 months for 1 or 2 trips we took, and very limited. And all I keep on saying is when we walk into hotels and airlines, I'm like, why weren't they this clean all the time?
Yeah,
I'm a neat freak. I wipe stuff down anyway.
We still bring our Clorox wipes. Thank you, Cheryl Patterson and Annette, for giving us the Clorox wipes when no one could buy them. But it's like we still hose it down with Lysol and Clorox, but they have been so much cleaner.
Yeah.
So it is nice that everyone is really taking precautions and thinking about this and trying to keep each other safe so that we can party more
so we
with
could drink
each other.
a lot of wine and listen to a lot of great music.
Yes.
One other question is we're getting down to the last few questions. There's been a lot of really good questions. A lot of people talking back to us here, and it's great. Is there a way for people that don't have a couple, they just want to go on their own? And my first trip to Italy, by the way, I went on my own for 14 days. It was tremendous.
He didn't know me yet. I would have gone with him.
But I will travel nowhere without this rock star and my wife now. So do they have an opportunity to just book a single and one person instead of 2?
Yeah, so we get a lot of people coming on. So I just want to say this. A lot of people have never been on a group tour before. And they are amazingly fun. And the reason is you get a bunch of people on the tour who have a common interest. In this case, Mindy is one of those common interests. Wine is another one. And going to a beautiful place like Sonoma or Tuscany is a third one. And so what happens is you meet these other great people and you have a really good time together. And so people show up. And our job, by the way, And my guide's jobs is to facilitate the whole group positive experience. And then we'll have Mindy and Eric there as well. So we're going to have a double team, a double dream team of making sure that everybody's having fun. And so the answer is 100% for sure. People who are signing up as solo travelers will feel extremely welcome, and we will make sure of that. I do want to say that in a normal year, we give people the option to room with other people at no additional cost, and we facilitate that pairing up with people of the same gender, and there's no issue with that. In 2021, we are discouraging people from that, and therefore you can instead get your own room at a slightly additional fee, but we have reduced those additional single supplement fees as much as possible because we're really highly encouraging it because of the coronavirus. So we recognize that, and we're trying to accommodate that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in a bubble with someone, I know there are, some of our friends or some of the members of my fan club, they'll go on the cruises and they'll room together because they go everywhere together anyway.
Yeah.
And so I think that comes into play that, so many of us have our little bubbles and we may not be a couple, but, we've got our friends that we travel with or go see concerts with and stuff. So I think that'll work out.
And you know what, you just kind of reminded me of something that I dream about sometimes, that with this adventure becomes, over the years, becomes something like that, where we have just people that are going with us every year. And like I said, with Allan, some of the places we're thinking of going are South America, like Argentina, Chile.
Yeah.
What other
Spain.
places? Spain. What other places do you guys do wine vacation?
Well, how about, we could go to New Zealand. We could go to Bordeaux. We could go to Rioja. Is a great place in Spain, by the way. For people who haven't been there, you go there and it's a primo wine area, and there aren't that many Americans there.
No, and
so
that's
really
fine.
good. Portugal is a really
Americans. What?
Portugal's nice. Chile and Argentina are both great.
So I kind of started thinking of that. We're going to have these groups of people that are going to just keep going with us, and they're all going to know each other and see each other once a year. To your point, Allan, they're going to get to know each other really well. To your point about the cruises. And so I couldn't be more excited for the pandemic to leave so we can get on by doing these trips every year. And, California, we got nailed. So if we go to California once a year, maybe we'll do Santa Barbara, Napa, Sonoma. Man, it's going to be excellent.
Well, in California, you've got him, and he can open every door. You're not a normal human being. You're not like a mere mortal like the rest of us who walk in a winery and just go, hey. But he walks in just like, hi, I'm Eric Guerra.
No,
and they open the doors and there's like a little halo that comes around. And
used to.
Things happen that don't happen for you and I.
I got freakish COVID hair now, so I don't know. They might freak some people. No,
I'll play you a little music, but even with his COVID hair, the halo will work and it will be pretty spectacular. So I'm dreaming with you.
We addressed all the questions.
Okay.
Let me see here. If people are saying New Zealand is their second, South America is their second. So
Cheryl, New Zealand.
People are already saying where they want to go next year, let alone this year.
Well, I already have friends who own a rock and roll wine club in New Zealand.
Nice.
So, that's on our short list.
What are you selling other people's wine? What are you doing?
No, they don't have their own wine.
Oh.
They just have a music club where they play music because they're rock and roll people and they're my friends. So it'll happen. But Allan, is there anything you want to wrap up that you haven't said that you feel like needs to be said before we sign off?
I just want to say that the pandemic's serious. A lot of people have not been traveling. I have not been traveling. I have not gone home to Washington State where my mom and brothers are and, skip that for Thanksgiving. I'm not going home for Christmas. That's the it's a good thing to be worried about this pandemic. Yeah. We are very focused on the safety aspect, and we wouldn't run tours if we didn't think that we could run them safely. We canceled almost all of our tours in 2020. I'm pretty confident that our schedule of tours up, including the June Healdsburg and the November Tuscany, are going to run and are going to run safely.
I love that.
That's great. Oh, wait, we have one last question that just came in.
Yeah.
Cheryl, what time do the yoga classes start in the morning?
That's all him.
So she'll be there, yoga pants on, ready to go for those of you. And just trust me, when you live in Sonoma, you got to get your yoga in the morning because then you can start drinking earlier in the afternoon and eating. So you got to this is the balance. This is my travel recommendation.
You know what? I will
my
do
expert
them.
advice.
I will do them with you guys.
Yep.
I will. Because he does it every morning.
So
he is the guy.
I don't know what time it'll be, Cheryl. It might be 8, it might be 9, but we will plan it out the night before and we'll see what our heads feel like in the morning to go.
It will be a part of the experience for whoever wants to do it.
Though.
That's so funny.
And Cheryl's going with us, and she actually has some friends going. So Cheryl, thank you so much.
Woo! Woo! All right. So we can say goodbye, Allan, and just thank you so much for coming on and giving us the real scoop. I mean, we watch the news and we talk to our friends and, we're trying to do the right thing and we're all trying to keep each other safe. But doing something like this, going on adventures, we want to be cognizant of all this stuff. And thank you for being here and being, a very smart voice and a very educated voice. We appreciate you.
Yeah, we got smarter people that are managing the trip than us. So that's what's the most important part of it.
Absolutely.
My pleasure. It was a joy to do it, and I hope everybody got something out of it. And I'm looking forward to doing yoga and wine drinking and music listening in June.
Okay, all right. I hear the challenge. I'm going to wake your ass up.
That's what I'm talking about.
All right, Allan.
All right,
thanks, buddy.
Give Allan a hand. Thank you, Allan.
Good night, everybody.
All right. So thank you, everybody. We have some regulars on here. We have a lot of your fans that are here and some that are thinking of going and some that are already signed up. So thank you for the ones that have signed up and have stayed, on board while we figure all this out. And Mindy and I were just talking about this the other day, especially with all the vaccination news and with Allan. You can tell that he's a super smart and capable guy. His company is incredible. The people that I've worked with there, Allan does other things in wine. He manages conferences in wine and beer as well. And the people have always been top notch. So I feel very comfortable with them. We do. But we just think June in Sonoma is like hitting it perfect. It's perfect. It's a domestic travel. It's in the country. Yeah. We can manage things really well. We know the territory. And then we think by November going to Italy, that is perfect for international travel to really start kicking in.
Yeah, I mean, Europe, this hit in Europe before us, and they went through all of this before we did. Yeah. So, they've seen the worst of it. They're going through it again along with America. But I really see them, buttoning it up and doing great things in Europe. So I really think by then we'll be totally fine. So we just want to say, we can't wait.
And we know tonight wasn't a normal show. Mindy didn't play an instrument.
I know.
And I'm glad because she took the night off. She's just been playing her butt off lately. And
now we're just going to drink wine and have fun.
So thank you for everybody who kind of hung with us and learned all about this. I mean, I learned some great things from Allan. Again, regardless if you're coming with us on the adventures or if you're just traveling or you're thinking about traveling next year, which I think everybody is in some small or big way.
I'm dreaming about it.
Keep informed with us. Go to Taste Vacations, which is Allan's company. Come to our, reserve tastings. Sign up for our newsletters. We don't email you that much. Allan puts on weekly broadcasts where he kind of, updates or weekly emails, and he updates you on the latest, which I watch, which are incredible. So thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts, because we're trying to start something up here that could be one of the most magical trips that you take once a year and that we go on. And
the one thing we've learned, if we've learned nothing else, and we've learned a lot, if we've learned nothing else, it's connection that we miss. And I know you guys miss, and it just means so much to us. So we've gone through this together. We've gone through 2020 together. I just look forward to so much in 2021, whether it's coming to your town and playing, which hopefully will come back stronger than ever.
We got shows booked, so
traveling
let's hope.
With you as a small group and just being together and experiencing the world and wine and food and music together. Yeah. So it's more important than ever to both of us. So have an amazing night. Thank you for spending the evening with us and getting a little information. I learned a lot.
Yep, I did too. So time to go eat crab.
I know we've got crab tonight, and I think it's going to pair well with this. Although,
no, we got the champagne waiting. We got the champagne. See that big bottle sitting back there?
Yeah.
We're not drinking that, but we're drinking something exactly like that. Smaller.
A tease. Such a tease. It's so wrong. But
all right, everybody.
We have a bottle of champagne. So cheers to you, and we'll see you very soon.
Love everybody.